Not much to do.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel, or is it just me? I'm Kendra, and
if you found the one, you should never give her up. I think it's the way life changes when in love.
oh, I just did 2 thumbs. Oh my.
These days I don't worry about much. I think we should have some more.
This will probably be the first video I have posted on my channel for people to see. So let's jump right into it. For today, I want to talk about something that I get really passionate about, and that is the church and Jesus. It's one that goes into my mind, into my heart, into the conversation that I've been having with the Lord and with friends about race. For whoever is watching this video, hopefully you guys will receive and know my intention is to just bring awareness as well as maybe even understanding into another perspective, and also to encourage all of us to take a step back and to ask ourselves, are we viewing what's going on in the world through the lens of Jesus, or are we choosing to view the world through our own lens only? So I got some questions. I've been wondering these things for a while, but in this video I want to just focus on this one, and that is, why is it every time there's an issue of race, we're gonna say the Black experience is brought up or talked about, it's seen as whining or complaining, or it's met with unbelief. We've been met with statistics, we've been met with comparisons, a lack of understanding. Why? Yes, we can talk about the statistics and all the other comparisons and examples. Yes, like we're not ignoring those things, but right now those responses are not helpful. When we bring up one issue, like we're trying to focus on that one thing so that we can fix it and move past it. For example, police brutality towards Black people. I've had conversations with people where their response was, well, the percentage of Black people who are killed by law enforcement is less than the percentage of Black people killing other Black people. Okay, it's not like we're ignoring that issue. Like, it's not that I don't care that other Black people are dying at the hands of other Black people, and because I do, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about police brutality towards people of color. And so you can see how like bringing up statistics in that situation is really detrimental, basically minimizing the experience of others, the experience of people who look like me. Because I'm coming to you to talk about that for just a second. So we need to focus on that, because there's a lot of people who don't realize that it's happening. And that leads me to another thing. There's conversations that I've had with people talking about the Black experience, and it's met with just plain, pure unbelief. So just because they haven't experienced that before, or they can't fathom that actually happening or occurring, because it hasn't been their experience. And so then when you start to talk about your experience or someone else's experience, they don't believe it. It's not true. I haven't seen it, so it doesn't happen. I'm talking to my brothers and sisters in the church. I urge you guys, whoever is watching this video, I urge you to put yourself in another person's shoes. And what would they need in this time? Like, think about it. Like, if it were you, as an example, say you have a brother and he, God forbid, he dies. And he dies by riding his bike off a bridge, okay? So then your friends and your family and the people around you are coming around you, and you're telling them about it. You're saying, man, I'm just in so much pain. I can't believe my brother is dead. I hurt so bad. This sucks. And say your friends and the people around you, instead of coming to comfort you, even if they don't understand it, instead of coming to comfort you, they come and they say, well, he shouldn't have been riding his bike on a bridge. or he shouldn't, he should have been more careful not to go over the bridge. Huh? Or they come with statistics, the amount of people that die on that bridge is like
astronomical.
Like, they come with all of those things, but empathy. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel ignored. You're going to feel probably upset. You're probably going to feel depressed. Like, you know, just not cared about, not cared for. Did I say ignored? You know? And it's like, not that those things aren't true, that like me as your friend are coming to tell you, but it's just not helpful in that time. Like, it's just not helpful. Like, why would I say those things at a time where you're grieving? Like, that's what I'm saying, and that's, for me, has been so, I guess, it's insensitive to me that for years, y'all, Black people have been asking and talking about it and crying out, asking for equal opportunities, asking for equal treatment, just to live. And we've been met with everything but empathy. So no, I'm not justifying this, but then we have people who have no empathy criticizing then what's happening in the world, such as rioting and looting, and wonder why people are doing that. Because people are upset. People are pissed off. Because they've been asking and asking, and it's not getting them anywhere. So now they're not asking anymore. They're yelling and they're taking. As believers, because the world's going to be the world, but as believers, how are you responding? Are we taking a second to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, to see from their eyes, to see behind the actions, and to hear the cry, and to notice that? You know, people talk about how they're tired of everything always having to be about race. Well, because the issue has never been fixed. It's still an issue today. It's still prevalent. And as tired as you are about hearing about it, think how tired we are of talking about it or experiencing these things or having to explain it. And then when they go to like get help or to expose the things so that we can make it better, they're met with boop, bada, beep, bam. And so I say to people who hold that view of like, why is everything about race? We have to acknowledge the problem. We have to get to the root of something in order to expose it and to deal with it. Now, I'm not a gardener, so my knowledge of gardening is very tiny. But I remember growing up as a little kid having to pull weeds and how it's best to get the whole root out. If you just get the top part, the root's still there, and so it's just gonna keep growing back. And so that's the example I use to describe racism or to describe talking about race. It's that. It's because it keeps growing back. It's like when you were a kid, another example, when you were told to, I don't know about y'all, but I remember a few times when I was real small, if I swept the kitchen, I could go outside and play. Mom, if you're listening, yeah. Grandma, I love you, Grandma. May you rest in peace. Oh gosh. But I would sweep the dirt underneath the rug, or I would open up the back door because we had like a back porch, and I would sweep the dirt out the back porch, hoping that nobody would know or see it. And so that's kind of what's happened for a while in history, that anytime race is brought up, a lot of the times, especially in the church, it's been swept over. It's been swept under the rug or swept somewhere else or not talked about. It's been ignored. We've never actually taken the time to stop, put down our walls, put down our preconceived ideas, and come to the table and actually get to the root issue so that we can get that weed out of there. Finally, I just want to encourage us, especially in the church, what if we came together as a body and we sat down and we vowed to one another to not leave the table until we work this thing out, no matter how hard it gets, no matter what I could possibly say to you when you say to me, so that we can come together, so that we can repent and forgive and move forward and grow into our identities as the body. Because come on, church, look at what's going on in the world. Like, things are only getting worse and they're getting more intense. But the church, it says the light is also going to be getting bigger. But what if for that light to get bigger, we have to actually expose things, both personally and corporately, unto God and unto each other, so that we can finally get to the root and take care of them, so that God can come and build his church, build us back up. It's Ephesians 2:22. In him you are also being built together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit. And so when we come together, though, we need the Spirit. We need to converse in spirit and in truth. And so we can see what's there, and then we can come together and pray together. And fall on our face together and humble ourselves together before God. Because we're called to be the body. And listen, God ain't coming back until we all at that table. And I'm hungry, y'all. I'm hungry. Like, I'm ready to eat. But we can't until all of us, every race, nation, tribe, and tongue is at that table. There's a spot for us all. We have a choice to come. And there's an invitation. Are we going to take the invitation? And I believe that God has already started in this church. That things have to be broken down in order to be built back up. In order to be built into that dwelling place for him. Because, listen, we were born into sin. God did say when he made us that he made us and it was good. But Eve and Adam took of that forbidden fruit. Sin entered in. It came and it perverted everything. It perverted us. And so God, if we allow him to, he is stripping those things away. He's healing us. He's cleaning us in order to build us back together as one body under the head, who is Christ. And Ephesians 4 wants us to grow up in every way into him who is the head, unto Christ, from who the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, with each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. And how do we do that? But in truth. There's truth and love. And so that looks like creating that space to where things have to be exposed. So that means we have to talk about these things. We have to talk about race. We can no longer ignore racism. We can no longer ignore it. We can no longer ignore these things. But even as big as those things may seem, even the little things that seem little to us, sin is sin. We can no longer ignore those things either. And so if you think about it, that takes vulnerability and humility, and it's a scary place to be in a sense of you are exposing yourself. But if it's unto being known, and we are known and can be fully known by God, but to be fully known, that's seeing everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, but still choosing to stay at the table, still choosing to say, but that's my brother and I'm gonna fight for you and you fight for me, because we're all sinners, y'all. Like, we all make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're humans. We're made from dust. We are dust. When you come to know the Lord, in Romans, right, he gives us a new spirit. We're renewed. A new mind. We can't continue to stay in the same old mindsets. And that takes diligence. I'm not perfect at it. Oh my gosh. By no means. But it's that choosing to be aware of it. That's another thing too that we're lacking, especially as believers, is that self-awareness and the social awareness. Sometimes we're so focused with what's right here in front of our face about ourselves that we neglect to see our brothers and sisters who are struggling in the church. Even if they're not struggling, we neglect to see our brothers and sisters. And we're called to see each other. We're being built together, not separately, together, under the authority of Jesus. Romans 12, verse 9. Now we should read the whole thing, but I'm gonna read this. It says, "Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Verse 15, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. Live peaceably with all. Guys, I'm seeing so many things on social media from Christians posting about feeling shamed for not weeping with your brothers and sisters. One, we should not be shaming each other. But two, we say that weep with those who weep. Our intention is not to shame. It's to say, hey, I'm your brother and sister, and right now, I do not feel safe in America. I feel hated. Right now, I feel ignored, and not by the world per se, but by my own brother and sister in Christ. We're blood related. We have Christ's blood. I'm seeing so many things from Christians coming up with every excuse to dismiss white supremacy or systematic racism, to dismiss those things. And it's not okay, because those things are happening. Whether you believe it or not, or see it or not, it may not be every single person's of color experience, but we're not all the same. We each have different experiences. Like, for example, I have several friends, and how we grew up is very different. And so if one of my friends were to say to me, I experienced this when I grew up, and I wasn't there to see it, who am I to say, no, you didn't, and that doesn't exist? But yet they're living proof in front of me. They're telling me that this has been what they've experienced. But I'm choosing to turn a blind eye and to not hear them because I don't see it and because I disagree. That's not okay anymore. And God's exposing it, y'all. He has started in his church. Why? Because he cares for his church. He loves his church and he's building us up. Did you know? It's Ephesians 3 that the church is supposed to testify to the powers and principalities and to the rulers in heavenly places, the manifest wisdom of God. It's part of the mystery of the gospel, that this is what the cross did. It did not just reconcile us to God, y'all. It reconciled us together. Because we were separated from God, and we're separated in many ways from each other for no apparent reason, because of the color of our skin.
Racism.
This is actually quite dumb.
We're all humans, we're all the same.
Like, underneath the foundation of how we were made is the same. But God gave us different characteristics for a reason, because he's creative and he didn't want to make the same thing over and over. He'll probably tell us when we meet him other reasons why he made us differently. I just encourage all of us, to just really think about how we are responding to one another and think about how we're seeing each other. It's in 1 John. If you say you love God but don't love your brother, you don't really love God. And that's hard, because that means you gotta love your brother even when your brother does something that you don't like or that's mean or rude. But we're called to love our brother. I don't think that necessarily means like ignoring the fact that our brother did us wrong, because then we wouldn't have Matthew 18. We're talking about if someone offends you or does you wrong, go to them and try to set it right. So anyways, I've just been really passionate about this, but I just think it's something that needs to be said. Just guys, we're all guilty of this, but for a second, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. I'm telling you, a lot of our issues, I believe, would not be issues if we just took a few seconds. I was having a conversation with a friend today, and we were like, if for a second we could just put ourselves in each other's shoes, for a second, y'all, to understand each other, then we can move past it. We can allow the Holy Spirit to come in and use the opportunity to bring us closer, instead of allowing the enemy to divide us. And in a way, God can use, evil and turn it for good. So in that division, a lot of things are being exposed. But what are we gonna do with that? Are we gonna just sit in our mess? or are we going to choose to be reconciled and stop allowing the enemy to get a foothold in our relationships with people who look different than us, or even people who look the same as us but just have differing views?
Aren't y'all hungry? I know I am.
So it's like, why not? Why not try to win your brother? Anyways, I'm gonna let y'all go, and I will be putting out more videos. It's gonna be an assortment of things, but I just really felt the need to say this. And you know, I have to be okay with, give myself grace that it's not always gonna come out perfectly. So if you guys have questions, need more clarity of what I'm saying, or want to hear more about something that I may have gone on a tangent about but went a different direction, feel free to message me on YouTube, or you can message me on Instagram. If you're watching this video and you're seeing me point and there's nothing there, it's because I couldn't figure it out. So just so you know. But if it's there, stay well, stay safe, and don't ever stop the conversation with the Lord. So, bye guys.